In this week's episode, we're looking at what is the matrix that everybody's talking about. We have this keyword, the matrix. But Rob and I want to explore more about not just talking about the matrix as this falseness, the red pill and the blue pill type of, the thing that's in that film. And we're not this week going to talk about the false matrix, not like when I talked about the goldfish bowl scenario last week. This week, we were all about what is the matrix we should be in. And we're going to explore that today. And we went in with the guides early on to help us to have a look at what we should be talking about and help us understand. Because Rob, first of all, when I spoke to you this morning, you had this question of what is the point? What's the point of us being here, didn't you?
I did, yeah. Um, I'll backpedal a wee bit because
Yes.
we sort of decided we were going to talk about the Matrix. What is the Matrix?
Yes.
How do we work with the Matrix? And this
Absolutely.
common feed that we're supposed to escape it.
I know, that's it.
So I
Don't feel
started
like.
this morning by going, okay, so I've got a matrix and I can understand that I have an electromagnetic energy
Yes.
field that I can manipulate and I can
Yes.
choose to leave bits of it that don't suit me and I can extend it in certain ways that do suit me. But then I thought, and I asked you, I think, where do you think it joins the matrix? Is there this enormous organic matrix that is everything?
Yeah.
Are we
Yeah.
part of that, or are we operating in our own little worlds? Which led me to the point of if we are, what on earth is the point?
Hmm.
Why are we here? So that age-old question that I've just decided to ask myself now is what's the point? If
Yes.
that's all there is, why are we bothering? Have we any choice? And I think that's what really got under my skin a bit in
Yeah.
that line of thinking was if I'm just being fractaled and spat out of some kind of computer program to have another whirl round and then get pulled back into it and then spat out again, does it ever end? Is there any
Mm,
purpose to this, or am I just being used?
nice
And by whom and
question.
for what? So all these questions, and
Yeah.
I'm overcomplicating it because that's just the way my mind tends to go when I have a thought.
That's what many of us humans are, isn't it, Rob?
I know
Whoa, what am I doing here? Who am
we
I?
should
What am I
think a
doing?
lot
What's the
less, shouldn't we?
purpose? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So you and I then thought, okay, the only
Mhm.
way to look at this is to let's just connect up,
Yep.
get our guides on board, and see where we
Yep.
go. And we did that. And for the first time, I was aware that I wasn't connecting to my guides specifically, as in the bringers of information to me, but I was connecting to consciousness
Mm,
that didn't
lovely.
require
Mm,
messengers,
it's brilliant. Mm,
which was really amazing. And a lot of what I got is fairly abstract and it's kind of imagery that I understand
mm,
that helped me to understand that every time I become a fractal of light, a projection, and have a new life, that life learns, that life takes the experience back to the center and is then projected again into another fractal of light. But that as I learn and learn and learn, I become greater and greater in this sort of kaleidoscopic image that's continually moving and shifting. And that pulls into the greater kaleidoscope or the greater matrix, perhaps. And that ultimately I stop being created as another life and I become in the center and I become the creator.
mm, mm.
So, in blank terms, I achieve a godlike status. And if that sounds arrogant, it's not because
All of us
we
will
are
be
all
like that.
God.
Mm,
God is within us, whatever you want to call God. So the ultimate reality of yourself is in that stillness in the center where you stop being made and you make. That's the journey.
mm.
And you said to me, Julie, that when you get to that point, it's too much for us now, but there will be another reality beyond that
Yes,
that we
absolutely. That's what
can't
I got.
grasp at the moment. So
Yeah.
I have now either caused people to see something they hadn't seen before, or I've confused everybody totally. So I'm going to let you speak.
So this is what I got. Literally, yeah. Rob, didn't you got the analogy of a kaleidoscope?
Yeah,
And the way I saw it, and I've seen it before, when going to my higher consciousness, you can call it higher self if you want, but going straight up to that higher consciousness where there is nothing, there is, and there is everything, because there isn't, we're not the human being that we are down here, as I want to call it. But my analogy was that if you imagine, complete fiber optics, we also spoke about that, Rob, didn't
yeah,
we? Almost like a spider's web type, where above the head, and you don't have to see it like this. It's almost like the morphogenetic field, as people talk about, where at the hub, the center, at your highest point of consciousness that we know of, there's a lot of network fibers, if you want to call it that, all operating. It's all absolutely bunched up. Or if you imagine a spider's web where lots of the web is almost so bunched up, lots of information going on there. And then our higher consciousness, it creates from there, and it creates and comes down and creates the soul or different souls, and then that creates form, potentially, say, human form in 3D. And it'll create other forms as well. But let's look at our consciousness in human form. So it starts to create, and as we come down and we're created as what I would tend to see as an avatar, we're just coming down with this one connection, this one fiber optic from the many, the bunch of fiber optics that you would see. So this is where I will say, this is how I understand it, that we're a computer program.
mm,
And I'm quite happy as a human being to be a computer program. This is what our DNA is enabling us to do. It's enabling us to program ourselves to function on Earth. And obviously, the problem with that is, which we'll discuss, and we've discussed before, is we can program ourselves for the organic side, or we can be programmed from other things that are going on. But, we can, absolutely program ourselves. So you're talking about deprogramming what you don't want, programming ourselves to say, what is it I want? Now, I got that the creation is from high self perspective, but that doesn't mean to say we're not creating at the ground. We are creating because at the ground level, so human 3D level, because we're constantly receiving and transmitting information from our higher self, maybe through soul, well, sorry, not maybe, but through, so from higher self through to us, and then we're learning and doing and taking action and being and connecting back to source, back to our higher self, back to this bunch of network cables, and telling, basically it's that kind of communication through light, that's then, getting yourself to learn, doing this, instead of being bored as I saw it. Robbie, you don't see it as being bored,
no,
but as consciousness being bored, wanting to experience things, it's experiencing it through us. That's the first part of the transmitting and receiving. I hope I haven't, hope that makes it sense. Is that is our form of connection, and that enables us to feel more whole, to start to feel more whole. What we actually do many a time as a human is we create separation, and that will create like a disconnection from us as a higher
yeah,
self, So I think of our higher self, I don't think of it as something like a separate thing. It is just me, but it's the central hub of me.
yeah,
And I am just like one of those fibers, but I'm quite happy with that, because I'm one of those fibers doing all the groundwork for, for my higher self, but being my higher self as well. I see it, this organic matrix, it is, other people call it the blueprint. So it could be soul's blueprint,
yeah,
for instance. So a lot of the time we would just think of the blueprint as who we are as human, because we've got that human consciousness, haven't we? This current consciousness in me now is Julie, the human. But also, Rob, what we got here is when you go back up to your higher self or your
Yeah.
highest point of view or your source or whatever you want to call it, does not matter, consciousness, that there are other fractals as well. Do you want to explain a bit more about what you saw with the other fractals, Rob?
So, sure. I think let's go back a couple of episodes
Mm,
or a
mm.
series ago to we were really talking about the heart center
Yes,
and how to
absolutely.
get into your heart center and how you manifest everything from that point of heart
Mm,
center. So I described it, and you may have as well, as when I am in my heart center, I'm aware that I'm connected to all the other parts of me, all the other fractals of my
yes.
reality,
Mm,
and that they're all connected to what is our collective higher self. So if I use the analogy of the kaleidoscope image, blue chips, red chips, green chips,
mhm.
whatever, all turning, turning, turning on themselves, all connected by the higher self that turns the kaleidoscope. And that our job is to remain connected and to know that if I am in this projection, this projection of life, perhaps I'm a green chip.
Yes.
Maybe the red chip needs to connect to me because it has a message for me, and we are connected
Hmm.
by our higher
Yes.
selves, so we can communicate and we can grow as a community, conscious community, and raise our consciousness together. Which brings me to another point that I said to you just before we started. So I can raise my consciousness because I want to become godlike. That is my
Mm.
goal
Yeah.
as an entity.
Hmm.
So why do I need to bother about other people's? And of course, that just disproves. Because
Absolutely.
if you are working as a unit and raising the collective consciousness, then everybody gains, including me, including you, and everybody that I am connected to gains and feeds back into the greater, the greater, the greater until we all become godlike. A long way around of saying it.
That's all right.
But
Again,
yeah,
it's that we talked about receiving and transmitting from a higher
yeah,
self, but what we're also doing on the ground, the ground force, and that's us humans, we're
yeah,
receiving and transmitting from each other as well. So
we are.
each of our higher selves are all having this lovely game and learning from each other via what we're doing. So we're so important. It makes us so important on this earth that that's what we're doing
Yeah,
with each other. Yeah.
yeah. But what is so important is that we connect
Yes,
and
definitely.
remember to connect continually. You know, we have said over however many series, doing the work, doing the work. And I want us to move away from doing the work to connecting
Absolutely. We got
and
told off, didn't
living
we?
that connection. Yeah, we did get
Calling,
told of. Yeah.
calling it
And
work.
yeah, and but living the connection all the time, being
Mm,
continually aware that we are
mm.
connected
Yes.
instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to do an hour of my work and this is where I will connect.
And then forget about it
And then you
afterwards.
don't do anything else. You go and do something else and you completely forget about it. We need to remain consciously connected at all times. And that is the art of
Mm,
remembering that you are part of a greater whole, remembering
mm,
that you have a collective that you belong to, and remembering that you have this immense goal that you can achieve together. So always stay in your consciousness,
hmm
and that will raise your consciousness without you really trying.
mm.
It's when you make it effort and you set time aside and you work at it that it becomes a chore. And then you start to
Yeah.
analyze, as I did this morning. What's the point? I said, you start to overanalyze and overthink. Let it go and just connect. What do you think, Julie, about
Yeah,
just
well,
connecting and
but even
stopping
just
working?
yeah, well,
Yeah,
even just putting this
yeah.
into a let's say practical content, I know that we all definitely talk about just being, but obviously from that just being, from that connection, from your higher consciousness, where if you do the practice, the just being is the practice of it. And when I say practice, yes, it could be 4 hours a day meditation, but
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be. It's about meditating and then bringing that into, what you're doing. When I say on the ground, I just liked doing that. It's like being your avatar of your higher self, doing all the work, busy, busy, scurrying about on the ground. And for instance, I have seen people who they'll have a synchronicity put in front of them, go to this meeting and find out, let's say in the spiritual world, you want to find out about dragons, or you don't want to find out about dragons, but an option on, or there's a meeting on. Let's today find out all about dragons. And if you're not connecting properly, you will think, oh, well, I just don't need to know about that. And what happens is there might be something in that meeting that you will get, that receiving the information that you needed as another human being, connecting to fit that jigsaw puzzle, to fit more pieces of that jigsaw puzzle. But if you are not connecting, so you're disconnected and you're not listening and you're not taking the information from higher self to understand that, you're then missing out on so many synchronicities,
Mm.
missing out on so many things on this earth. And then what are we doing? Oh, this never happens to me. I can't get this to do this. And we're just complaining and being victimized all the time instead of seizing all the opportunities that we do.
Yeah.
I do it myself, but again, when we're observing, I see it in many people. I see it in my friends and family that's what might happen. You see it in the wider scale of what's happening, but this is where we should be connecting as well as with higher self with other people, just going along. I've just been, Rob, to last week to a 3D information on planets and space and what astronauts do and all sorts of
Hmm.
things. It was more 3D, but I wanted to fit those jigsaw pieces together with my spiritual aspects of what we see when
Mm.
we connect with guides and go within with our other planets, and that fits everything in. So I'm not just going, no, I only want to know the spiritual side. I only want to know from somebody who's like-minded. No, I want to know it from every point of view. That's what my spirit and soul and higher self wants me to learn. I feel it inside. So does that help? Does that help with, putting things
Yeah,
into practical sense on the
I think it
ground?
does. I think it does. Yeah. And that,
Mm,
we are a fractal that has chosen to
yeah.
be a human being. So we have to make this life work
Yes,
and learn
yes.
as much as we can, connect as much as we can, so that when this life ends, our next projection is at a slightly higher vibrational rate.
Exactly. Yeah.
And up we
Yeah.
go.
More connected even. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm,
And we're human beings, we have choice.
yeah.
And we can choose what we do or don't do. So if you go to that meeting that contains dragon information, or you don't go to that meeting, you make the choice and you take the consequence of your choice. So that, I mean, in my way of thinking, that little anecdote was a failure to connect,
Yes,
or a
yes,
denial
absolutely.
that there might
Denial,
be something there.
avoidance.
Yeah.
Mm,
And we all do that.
of course.
None of us
Yeah.
can be free from this in all aspects of our life. We should be eating beautifully healthy food, and we don't always.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
choice we make, and
absolutely.
we feel good for 5 minutes, then feel wretched because we shouldn't
Yes.
have.
Yes,
So all these
absolutely.
things, and life is not about beating ourselves up
Oh,
at all.
yeah. It's
Life
just
is
part of the learning.
indeed, it's making a choice, recognizing the choice, and
Mm.
sometimes being joyful about the choice, and other times going, I wish I hadn't made that choice, and that's how I learn.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Yeah,
not a failure, is it? If you've
not
done
at all.
something and it hasn't quite worked,
There is no failure.
or you just need to pivot, or
Yeah,
you needed to know that that's what sometimes we go into, I really want to do this. You do it, you only know by doing it, and you think, I really don't want to do this, and it's the only way we know. But we've gone out there and learnt it.
yeah,
But the more you connect with the guides, the more you will understand what you do need to do in a quicker way. It just
yeah,
makes everything a lot quicker, easier,
yeah. And
far
understanding,
calmer.
you know, I was questioning the point of it all.
Hmm.
Understanding the point of it all gives you the focus to do this,
Mm, yeah,
knowing that it gets better and better and better and better till it's beyond anything you can understand
absolutely. Yeah.
is
And
is
yeah,
driver for me.
yeah, I was going to say, I want to say that, don't be disheartened if you think you're connecting
Mm.
and something's not happening. You will get something that, the sooner you sit in the silence, go through the heart space, like Rob and I have said, it's the easiest way to do it. Going into heart
Yeah,
space gets you to pure consciousness, if that's where you want to go to. goes, you can get to your soul. It's a bit of a lower level, if you want to call it that. But where you then get the answers quicker, the more you do that, you're going to get the answers to who you are in a lot easier way. So, just
Absolutely.
want to end with that.
I don't know about you, Julie. I will often, oh, I'm going to connect with guides now.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
there's nobody there.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
usually I'm asking the wrong question.
Yes, that's one thing. Yeah,
So
I am
don't
as well.
worry if you don't connect every time. Let it go, come back.
Yeah,
And the answer will, the question will have filtered and you'll have the right question and the right answer.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also know that it might just be that the answer, when you go away, the answer's in the 3D, you get the
Yeah.
synchronicity.
Yeah.
Or what I was going to say was as well is that the the guides drip feed, don't they? Or
They
or
do.
our,
Yeah.
our consciousness drip feeds because some things we see, we may not be ready to see. So they will only give us what we are as a human in the human form, what we're ready to
Yeah.
see. So it might be just, little snippets, or we're not ready, the bigger questions, like Rob was saying, is there an end? Is there an end and, whatever, and another
Yeah.
beginning, or, maybe that's not what we need to know about. Because if there's an end, we'll still say, well, what's the purpose of us living here and not doing anything? But I
Mm.
just get the more you understand with consciousness is how important we are as humans in the jigsaw puzzle, in putting all the
Yeah.
pieces, say where the edge bit, you can't
Yeah.
complete a jigsaw puzzle without the edges. You can't complete a jigsaw puzzle without the middle bits as well. So we're all connected together. So you can't complete the puzzle without the connection to our other fractals and our other pieces of us, our other multidimensional selves that we are. So
Yeah.
it's all, when we look at it like that, to me, that lifts me up. That makes it fascinating to do rather than looking outwards at all the problems that we all have.
Yes,
So
indeed. I mean, the world's not a great place to be in.
when you look
So,
outside,
yeah,
yeah.
so we all have to protect ourselves and protect our community and protect our spiritual community
Mm.
and just help each other raise our vibrational levels
Yeah, yeah. And
and
this, yeah.
get off the bandwagon.
Mm, yeah. And this will come quite nicely, won't it, Rob? We can finish here quite nicely.
Yeah.
Go into next week. We will be talking a little bit about the false matrix,
Yeah.
not in a scary way, not in a fear way, because that's what the false matrix is about, being in fear. So we're going to talk about that, but knowing, need to completely listen to the whole of this episode. So knowing all about what the organic matrix can be, and that it's, just literally living life as a, in complete abundance, then we can talk about how we get to that if anybody isn't, and move away and unplug ourselves from anything related within the false matrix.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think on that
Grand.
note, right, okay. Thank you all for listening. Please subscribe, please download, please do like our work, and we'd love to hear comments from you. So until next week, bye for now.
Bye now.